Yeah, I understand, but I'm also not in the banking business. I mean, I'm looking at it in terms of how much it's going to cost us to do the rewrite and say, but we weren't in the driver's seat. I just don't, I'm trying to look at it as a cheap and easy fix on this.
I could just say in the referral that I've done to other county planning directors, and maybe I'm just getting back that have a frustration level. I don't think I asked the question, I don't think I asked a leading question of those other counties, but in the email responses that I've gotten from Ventura County, from Santa Cruz County, from Del Norte County, from the city of Fort Bragg, and I got a response from Sonoma County that was just saying we're starting our process. All saying it's a very expensive process. The Coastal Commission will insert themselves, embed themselves much deeper in this process than you will probably want them to be, and it will take longer and cost you more than anticipated.
Sounds like a class action lawsuit then.
Well, I think in the big picture, and this isn't helpful in the short term, is I could see that there's a frustration building amongst planning directors. Planning directors should be on the side of the Coastal Commission, you would think. But there's a frustration that the system is keeping us from moving forward, even if it's for bettering our policies for coastal protection. We're getting so bogged down in the minutia that we're missing the big picture here. And the state has to, at some point in the future, and not now with finances, but the state has to refund those efforts to update LCPs. I mean, I don't know any other way around it that's going to be successful. So there has to be a movement, through those coastal counties pushing for that legislation and ultimately the funding to update LCPs. I don't know how else you do it.
This budget?
No, I'm saying this budget, it's not realistic. That's why I'm saying that's the long term what needs to occur.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Pinchot.
If you look at this executive summary that I guess Ms. Roofing wrote, as far as from when the inception of the LCP in '85, to put in real simple terms, it's kind of like if you hire somebody and have them plan you a trip from here to New York City, and if you haven't made it to Longvale yet, does it make any sense to keep hiring this guy to get your plan in New York City? I mean, we aren't even close to where we, in the growth or no growth, whatever we want to call it, on the coast of what was projected in the '85 LCP. So certainly, and we talk maybe $800,000 for this upgrade or whatever you want to call it. My experience, you can probably double or triple that cost before it actually gets implemented and whatnot on down the road. And there's no need for that. As Supervisor Koufax said, why don't we do the $49 version and upgrade it? We can do that in-house or with a small consulting fee and do that, because we're not exploding to the point where we exceeded even the '85 plan. So I don't see where we need to spend all this kind of money on a little bit of tweaking, like Supervisor Koufax said, to address maybe 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 or whatever, how many issues there are, to tweak that and bring us update. We can do that. I don't see us having to budget $800 million or 3 years from now $1.6 million or whatever. I mean, let's don't get caught in that trap. Let's take it a little slow here and let's use a little common sense and upgrade the plan as it needs to be. And I think from what I hear, I think Supervisor Delbar brings a real important issue up. Maybe it's something that if this is a problem with the planning directors of the northern counties, coastal counties, maybe it's an issue we ought to be in a little more contact. Maybe we need to put a little pressure on the state for some legislative relief or something. I think that's something that certainly needs to be if it's a discussion amongst planning directors in the coastal counties, then it certainly ought to be a discussion between the Board of Supervisors, and not just this county, but Humboldt and Del Norte and even Sonoma, whatever. So, but I'm never going to support spending a lot of money for a plan that doesn't tell you any more than you know right here today.
Supervisor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think this is different than a lot of other issues that we deal with, that we're in this catch-22 with the state vis-a-vis the concept of the unfunded mandate, and here we are. And so it hangs up citizens and it hangs up the county, and we're in this sort of never land, and we're not going to get it going. And I agree, what's the point, if we could even identify the 800,000 or the $1 million, which we can't, where would it really take us? Because it sounds like there might be 1,800, recommendations for modifications or whatever. So and I don't have a lot of hope, as I think has also been expressed here, that our state legislators are going to be able to, move this to the top of the list in this budget climate in terms of getting some traction on it. But I think we ought to be dealing with it on a couple levels, and we could certainly direct staff to get those letters out. We ought to be on record saying this is a fiscally impossible situation for our county to comply with what would normally be understood as an update, and get those letters out. And we can certainly deliver that message to our membership in the rural counties and CSAC as well. And just, we need to make sure that we've put everyone on notice that we're involved with collectively or as our own individual relationship with the legislators is concerned. So we ought to be doing that, and then maybe, Mr. Hall, you could take a look at and bring back to us in another discussion, what is the $49 version? What are the things that we feel that we could adequately sort of say that because we've done the following things, or the following things have or have not occurred in this time frame, we could basically address those in this $49 version. What are the more limited aspects of the LCP that might need to have public input? Or that we would need to clearly take some internal action on, and then just get it going forward. Because once it goes forward, we know it's going to sit there, because that just seems to be the MO. So we might as well do what we can, and it isn't finding the money, because I don't think we really literally can right now. That's an imposition, and it ought to be mentioned in the letters to our legislators, and trying to get the other coastal counties on board, as you're saying that they are also concerned about this issue. It isn't, and that we want to return the obligation for the updates to the entity that created it in the first place. And that we're certainly willing to work with them on it, but they need to produce either the funds to do it or the mechanism by which we do it, and call it a shared responsibility. But they need to handle the financial impacts, because they're the body that created it. And I don't know, it's like so many other things we deal with. It's a very frustrating situation, but where do you really go to resolve it? And it's not fair to the property owners. It's not fair to us that end up in the middle of it, really not being able to act. So, I think we could do those letters as a first step, and that doesn't really cost. And we can carry it to our membership bodies, and that doesn't cost. And then we can spend a small amount of staff time to sort of come up with, is it feasible, and also have county council look at it to really do this, what we're now referring to as the $49 version, and see where it can go, and bring it back to us, and we say yes we can do it, or no we can't, or what does the $49 version look like, and what is the time frame that we think internally we can get it done, and go forward.
So okay,
I have a certain level of frustration / comments, and a couple of questions to Ray first. How many applications or amendments, projects do we have in the hopper that have been stymied between us and the Coastal Commission?
Yeah, I haven't looked at that. I'd have to go back and look at the numbers. My guess is probably about 4.
4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, take that with a grain of salt also, and that probably people aren't submitting because they know that it's a black hole at this point in time.
Okay, and out of those 4, what is the possibility of 1, 2, 3, or 4 of those not increasing density?
But if they didn't increase density, we would be processing them.
And we have been doing that.
They would have already been processed.
Okay.
So in each case, they're increasing density.